Our scripture lesson today comes from Mark. We're going to read Mark 5:21 to 43. And with your permission, I'm going to come stand in front of the fans while I read. Is that okay with everybody? Oh my goodness. When Jesus had again crossed over by boat to the other side of the lake, a large crowd gathered around him while he was by the lake. Then one of the synagogue rulers named Jairus came there. Seeing Jesus, he fell at his feet and pleaded earnestly with him, "My little daughter is dying. Please come put your hands on her so that she will be healed and will live." So Jesus went with him. A large crowd followed and pressed around him, and a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had. But instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd, and she touched the back of his cloak, because she thought, "If I but touch his clothes, I will be healed." And immediately her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once, Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" "You see the people crowding against you," his disciples answered, "and yet you can ask, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, trembling with fear, and told the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." While Jesus was still speaking, some men came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue leader. "Your daughter is dead," they said. "Why bother the teacher anymore?" Ignoring what they said, Jesus said to the synagogue ruler, "Don't be afraid, just believe." He did not let anyone follow him except Peter, James, and John, and the brother of James. When they came to the home of the synagogue ruler, Jesus saw a commotion with people crying and wailing loudly. He went in and said to them, "Why all this commotion and wailing? The child is not dead, but asleep." But they laughed at him. After he put them all out, he took the child's father and mother and the disciples who were with him and went in where the child was. He took her by the hand, and he said to her, "Talitha kum," which means, "Little girl, I say to you, get up." Immediately the girl stood up and walked around. She was 12 years old. At this they were completely astonished. He gave strict orders not to let anyone know about this, and told them to give her something to eat. Thanks be to God for these words. May they be blessed to our understanding. I want to say thank you to everyone wearing the red and reminding me that it is in fact Canada Day. It is a day worth celebrating. Now, I don't know if you are really comfortable yet with the idea of being asked questions during a sermon. That can be a pretty awkward thing for some people. This is your time to talk, Greg, not ours. But I do want to know from you guys, what are some of the things that you are celebrating today? What is it that makes you proud to be a Canadian? Just show something out. Freedom. Independence. Pride. Diversity. These are all fantastic. Peace. Absolutely. Healthcare. Inclusion. Love. Compassion. See, now we're getting going. This is good. Democracy. Is there another one? We celebrate Canada. Absolutely. These are all absolutely fantastic reasons to celebrate. I did a little bit of looking, and Canada always comes up on these lists of best places to live, right? If you go and you look, and there's a recent Forbes article that said we were the 7th most peaceful country I didn't bother to get into how you calculate peacefulness, but we were number 7. And we were, I think it was the Independent in the UK that identified us as the 8th best place to live. Now that, of course, is kind of a wishy-washy thing, what makes it that, but they named a lot of the things that you guys have talked about. They talked about healthcare, and they talked about education system, they talked about peace, and they talked about safety, and they talked about security. Today is a day to celebrate. And at the same time, we need to remember that there are people in this country who struggle to look with pride at a flag, who don't find an awful lot to celebrate. This is a community of great diversity, as somebody said. This is a country of, huge geography and huge diversity of people. And not all of us are totally excited. See, this is a country of humans who range from great wealth to no wealth. This is a country of people who range from no concerns about their health to not sure what's coming next. And because of that, all of us in some way are less than whole. As you may have seen on the slide, we're talking today about healing community. And I want to define the difference between the word cure, which is what we kind of think about when people are ill, we want to cure them. But there's a difference between a cure and healing. See, curing someone is working to eliminate all evidence of disease. A noble cause. But healing is looking for wholeness. It might be hard or maybe impossible to talk about curing a community. However, bringing wholeness to a community, that is something of incredible value. That is something that we can work towards, that we can think about today on all days as we celebrate all the wonderful things that Canada has to offer. And remember that not all people are whole. And in that, I argue that how can any of us be whole when not all of us are? Now, I filled this up in the kitchen just around the corner there, and I didn't pause for even a moment as I turned the tap on to wonder if it was okay to drink. Didn't even cross my mind. I imagine that's the same for each and every one of you at your homes this morning. You weren't worried about whether you would get disease while brushing your teeth. Unfortunately, there are somewhere around 100 Native communities in Canada, reservations which have no drinkable water, not in their homes, and sometimes not even available on a regular basis. Lots of the homes don't even have plumbing. This is unbelievable. It's almost odd to really think that. Not running water, that's sort of a third world country thing. That's a developing country thing. And so it's easy for us to think, right, well, a lot of those reservations are way up north where it's really difficult to get water or to create treatment plants. It's unfortunately not the truth either. The Six Nations on the Grand River Reservation is the largest reservation in Canada, and most of you probably know it's located just outside of Brantford. 9% of the houses on that reservation have running water. 9%. How can we speak of wholeness when our people can't even drink their water? And in case you want to say, right, but that's a different people and that's farther away from here, we have difficulties in this community too. We have discussions in this community where there are churches and there are social services where certain people are not welcome to be because of who they love, because of how they identify in their community. The LGBTQ community here in Chatham works hard for visibility, and yet it is still a struggle. How can we be whole When there are people who either don't get hired or can't get promotions or don't get the social services they deserve because of how they are. And we know this community has a difficulty with poverty. That's something that crosses all boundaries and all barriers. And it's really easy when we talk about poverty to think just about a certain stereotype. I'm betting that most of you had a little thought in your head when I talked about poverty. It may have been somebody standing at a stoplight asking for a handout. It might have been somebody coming to the church, to a place here where food is available. But poverty is so much more than just the lack of money. It's a lack of resources in many different ways. Most of the people here in Chatham who would identify or who are calculated as being below the poverty line have jobs. Most of those people do go to work, but what they make doesn't cover their needs. Some of those people can only work part-time because the rest of their time they're supporting a loved one. Some of those people can only work part-time because it's all their bodies or their minds or their emotions are capable of. Some of those people have benefits that just simply don't cover their needs. How can we be whole? How can we be healed when there are those amongst us who need healing? Now, I don't want to name these things in a place, to put you in a place of guilt. That doesn't actually solve anything, and unfortunately, churches have tried to use guilt for many, many years. It doesn't work. And so instead, what I want to do is look to the Scripture, because there are so many beautiful examples of healing in the Scripture. And before we make this all about Jesus, and honestly, this is kind of all about Jesus, but Jesus was not the only person in the Bible identified as a healer. I did some pretty deep looking, and there are 12 different times in the Old Testament where individuals were healed, and really that's before Jesus was even on the scene. There were 3 different times in the Old Testament where entire communities were healed. And in the New Testament, we have Peter and John and Ananias and Paul and Silas and the disciples and the people. There are many different healers, many different ways of healing. And part of how that works is when we think about this difference between curing and healing, not many of us here, thankfully some of us, but not many of us here have the technical know-how to cure. We have people in our community who do. Yet every single one of us has the ability to be part of healing. Our scripture lesson today had 2 different stories of healing that are wrapped together in a really beautiful way. We have Jairus, whose daughter is dying, and he comes and he falls at Jesus' feet begging for help. And even in the process of them going to help Jairus' daughter, they are stopped in the throng by a woman who reaches out for healing. And after a brief discussion, Jesus continues on and heals Jairus' daughter. Not simply heals her, but brings her back from the dead. These seem unbelievable miracles. And it's easy for us to just focus on Jesus in these moments, but that can be a difficult thing because I don't know which one of us here is Jesus. And so how can we come away with an idea of hope, that there's hope for healing in this community? So why don't we take a minute and look at the people who were part of the healing? Jairus, who was a synagogue leader. Now, it's a little later in Mark's gospel that we hear that the synagogue leaders were pretty much against Jesus. They were some of the people who were lining up to make sure that he wasn't going to go along with this whole preaching thing. Yet, Jairus, a synagogue leader, sought out this man to heal his daughter. He actively went and fell in front of him and said, Jesus, I've run out of options. I don't know what to do. He had the humility to say that he wasn't the one who could help his own daughter. I can't imagine what humility and courage it would take to go to someone and say, although I want to be able to do this for my little girl, I can't. I need you. So we too can learn from that in those moments when we are feeling like we can no longer be of service, we can no longer help. We still have the courage and we still have the humility to go to those who can make a difference. I don't know what that looks like for you, but each and every one of us can take that move. And then we have a woman who had bled for 12 years. The Bible is very clear that it says that she had exhausted all her means. She had suffered under doctors. She had run out of money. Jesus was her final hope. She knew that all she needed to do was get close, to touch him, to be healed. From this we can draw great hope. For Jesus is still present and still available for us to reach out to. The communities here in Chatham and across this world who are suffering and desperately need healing, they too, and we too, can reach out. We can reach out with courage. We can reach out with hope. We can reach out with faith. See, healing and wholeness, this takes action. It takes hope. It takes faith. Faith that there is a way that we can be whole. Faith that there is a way that the darkness that we see in our world and in our communities can change. Hope that there is a better way. I am proud of this country that we live in, and I think it's justifiable that we are 7th and 8th on the lists of best places to live. And at the same time, I know that it could be so much better. And so today, as you're watching fireworks or seeing a flag or looking around at all the red and white that people are wearing today, I encourage you to keep the faith, keep the hope, and continue to act in ways that bring wholeness, that bring healing to yourself, to our community, to our country, and to the world. Amen.
Hi, I'm Greg Simpson, minister here at St. Andrew's United Church in Chatham, Ontario. Thank you so much for watching our video. Please click the subscribe button and you can be kept up to date when we upload new videos. If you happen to be in the Chatham area, we'd love to see you. Come out some Sunday morning. Our church services start at 10:30 throughout the year and then 10 o'clock in the summer months of July and August.